He trained like a machine, spoke like a philosopher, and looked like a Greek statue. Mike Mentzer wasn't just a bodybuilder, he was a revolutionary. He won Mr. Universe, rewrote the rules of training with his heavy-duty system, and dared to challenge Arnold Schwarzenegger himself. But behind the muscle and mind was a man slowly falling apart. So how did one of the most brilliant, disciplined men in fitness history spiral into addiction, paranoia, and tragedy? This is the rise and fall of Mike Mentzer, the genius who flew too close to the sun. Mike Mentzer was born in 1951 in Philadelphia into a hard-working German-American family. As a boy, he was curious and driven, but it was at age 12 that his life began to change. He discovered muscle magazines for the first time, and he later called the experience like a religious awakening. That Christmas, his father gave him a small set of weights, and Mike started lifting in his bedroom. Soon, he was training in the garage with Johnny Myers, learning the secrets of strength and discipline from a man who had lived it. These early days planted a fire in him, a desire to be strong, to stand out, and to achieve something bigger than himself. In 1965, 13-year-old Mike went to see the Mr. Olympia contest, where he met legends like Larry Scott and Dave Draper, and he saw what greatness looked like in real life. One magazine he picked up had an inscription that seemed to predict his own future. From that moment, Mike believed he could reach the top. He started small, entering local and regional contests where his dense muscle and intense training style quickly set him apart. By the late 1960s, he was winning amateur shows and gaining notice for his focused, high-intensity approach to bodybuilding. Each contest pushed him closer to the spotlight, sharpening both his physique and his confidence. Mike was not just a strong boy, he was also a gifted student. He dreamed of becoming a psychiatrist but found himself torn between his mind and his muscles. The pull of bodybuilding was strong, but he wanted to excel in every part of life. In 1970, he enlisted in the Air Force, hoping to balance education, training, and service. Over the next few years, his reputation grew as he balanced life in the Air Force with his bodybuilding ambitions. In 1976, he earned the prestigious IFBB Mr. America title. 2 years later, he proved himself on the international stage by winning the IFBB Mr. Universe with a perfect score. In 1979, he captured the Mr. Olympia heavyweight division, though the overall crown slipped away. Still, every step reflected his commitment and relentless hunger for success. That choice shaped him, building the foundation for the man who would inspire a generation of bodybuilders and face the highs and lows of fame and ambition. But Mike was about to meet someone who would completely flip everything he thought he knew about getting strong. In 1971, Mike Mentzer faced a humbling moment at the Mr. America contest. He met Casey Viator, a 19-year-old bodybuilding prodigy whose size and strength amazed everyone. Mike, despite his dedication, finished 10th, while Casey claimed a historic win. Watching Casey's rise was both inspiring and painful. It was also the moment Casey met Arthur Jones, the inventor of Nautilus machines, who would soon change the way the world thought about strength training. For Mike, this experience planted a seed. He realized that raw effort alone was not enough. There had to be smarter, more effective methods. Over the next few years, his reputation grew as he balanced life in the Air Force with his bodybuilding goals. During this time, Mike developed the approach that would become his heavy-duty training system, shifting away from endless hours in the gym toward shorter, more intense sessions. In 1979, he chased the ultimate crown at Mr. Olympia, winning the heavyweight division but missing the overall title. Still, every step showed his determination and drive to succeed. The years that followed were not easy. A shoulder injury and Air Force duties slowed his progress. Depression and fear of unfulfilled potential loomed over him, but Mike refused to quit. In 1975, he placed third at the IFBB Mr. America, behind Robbie Robinson, showing steady improvement. Then, in 1976, Mike Mentzer claimed the IFBB Mr. America crown. It was not just a victory of muscle, it was a result of hard work, persistence, and the training approach that set him apart from his peers. What happened next shocked everyone. Mike didn't just get famous, he broke a record that seemed impossible. After his Mr. America victory, Mike Mentzer's life took a dramatic turn. Joe Weider, the heroic bodybuilding publisher, noticed his talent and recruited him to the heart of the fitness world, California. Mike quickly became a sensation in Muscle Builder and Power magazines, captivating readers with both his incredible physique and thoughtful insights. His heavy-duty training courses, offered through mail order, became a phenomenon, inspiring countless athletes to train smarter, not longer. For the first time, Mike's ideas reached beyond gyms and competitions. He was influencing the way the entire bodybuilding world thought about strength and growth.
Mike's competitive success soared.
In 1977, he placed second at the Mr. Universe competition in France, narrowly missing the top spot. The following year in Acapulco, Mexico, he made history by achieving a perfect 300-point score at the Mr. Universe contest, the first IFBB professional ever to do so. This milestone cemented his reputation as a champion and proved that his training system delivered results at the highest level. It was clear evidence of his discipline, focus, and innovation. What set Mike apart was not just his muscles, but his mind. Deeply influenced by Ayn Rand's objectivism, he applied rational thought and logic to bodybuilding, challenging Arnold Schwarzenegger's famous 20 sets per body part approach. He wrote extensively, gaining a devoted following that admired his intelligence as much as his physique. Fans called him Hercules reincarnated, a fitting image for a man who combined strength with focus. By the end of the 1970s, Mike Mentzer had not only risen to stardom, he had left a mark on bodybuilding, showing that success depended on effort, precision, and consistency. Then life hit Mike with something no amount of training could prepare him for. In 1979, Mike Mentzer faced a heartbreak that would change the course of his life. The night before the Night of Champions, he received devastating news. His mother was terminally ill. For a man whose life had been built on structure and control, the emotional blow was shattering. After her passing, Mike stopped training for 6 weeks, sinking into grief. His body, once a temple of strength, began to deteriorate. Weight gain and loss of tone reflected the inner turmoil he could not escape. The gym, the place where he felt invincible, became a reminder of the fragility of life. Despite the personal loss, Mike committed himself to the 1979 Mr. Olympia, his first Olympia competition. With only 4 months to prepare, he faced the challenge of rebuilding his physique while managing his emotional pain. He also stood apart for his belief in a training style built on shorter, more intense sessions, which contrasted with the judges' preference for sheer size. The competition was fierce, with Frank Zane claiming his 3rd consecutive title. Mentzer's supporters were vocal, many declaring that if he did not win, it would be a grave injustice. The contest itself was controversial. Mike's sharp lines, perfect symmetry, and sheer definition should have made him a contender for the top spot, but the final scoring favored Zane. Fans and critics alike felt the victory had slipped through his fingers. That day, Mike realized that talent, preparation, and innovation were not always enough in a world influenced by subjective judgment and politics. The 1979 Olympia marked not just a professional disappointment, it was a turning point. The start of a period where personal loss and professional frustration intertwined, setting the stage for the challenges that would define the rest of his life. Mike's next move was so extreme, it would either make him a legend or destroy him completely. By 1980, Mike Mentzer's dedication had transformed into an all-consuming obsession. Determined to prove himself, he declared, "If they want more definition, I'll give them more definition." Unlike his previous preparations of 12 weeks, Mike began his diet in February for an October contest. 8 months of strict training and nutrition. Every meal, every thought, and every waking moment was consumed by one goal: perfection. He meticulously tracked calories, measured progress, and replayed strategies in his mind. Sleep and leisure were secondary. For Mike, improvement wasn't occasional. It had to be constant.
In his relentless pursuit, Mike turned to stimulants, seeing them as ergogenic aids to push beyond human limits. What started as a tool for focus soon became a dangerous reliance. The productive genius mentality drove him to train harder, think faster, and push past his body's natural boundaries. But the toll was severe. He had moments where he could barely lift his arms, teetering on death's door, yet he continued. The cycle of dependency intensified, with stimulants masking fatigue and feeding the compulsion for perfection. His mind was sharp, but his body began to pay the price for obsession unchecked. But while Mike was trying to adapt to his new workout system, a bombshell dropped. One day before the contest, Arnold Schwarzenegger announced his return. The news hit Mike like a lightning bolt. Fury mixed with frustration as he watched the world's most famous bodybuilder re-enter the contest, even at only 80 to 90% of his former glory. Competitors whispered their pity, while fans speculated on the outcome. For Mike, this wasn't just a contest. It was a battle for validation, respect, and legacy. His obsession, fueled by loss, ambition, and the pressure to outperform, had now reached a point of no return. Whatever happened on that stage would define him forever. And what happened at that contest was so unfair, it would haunt Mike for the rest of his life. Before the 1980 Mr. Olympia, the competitors gathered to discuss the rules. 15 of the 16 athletes petitioned for a single open class, believing it was the fairest way to judge. Arnold Schwarzenegger stood alone in dissent, confident in his return. Tensions flared, particularly between Boyer Co. and Arnold, as arguments escalated. Mike Mentzer stepped in, confronting Arnold directly. The encounter became legendary. Arnold Schwarzenegger sat down. "I scared him," Mike later recalled. It was a rare moment where Mike's presence and intensity shifted the room, but it could not influence the forces shaping the contest. When the contest began, the results shocked the bodybuilding world. Chris Dickerson and Arnold emerged as the final two, while legends like Frank Zane, Boyer Co. and Mike Mentzer failed to impress the judges despite flawless conditioning and perfect symmetry. Arnold's charisma and polished posing masked the gaps in his physique, turning charm into advantage. Mike, seeing the injustice unfold, could only mutter, "This is bullcrap," when he was announced in 5th place. For a man who had trained with absolute precision, the decision felt like a personal betrayal. What began as nervous laughter among fans quickly turned to anger. Mike openly declared, "I felt cheated," arguing that objective criteria had been ignored in favor of popularity and showmanship. The controversy drew national attention, prompting CBS to separate the competition from television broadcasts in the future, and sparking discussions on implementing new judging rules. Behind the scenes, Mentzer's outspokenness and refusal to compromise reportedly led to an unofficial IFBB blacklisting. The 1980 Mr. Olympia was not just a contest. It became a symbol of everything Mike Mentzer would fight against for the rest of his life: bias, politics, and the heartbreak of being denied the recognition he had earned through discipline, intelligence, and relentless effort. However, the aftermath was even more brutal. Mike's world was about to crumble in ways no one saw coming. After the crushing disappointment of the 1980 Mr. Olympia, Mike Mentzer retired from competition at just 29, right in the middle of his competitive prime. His decision shocked fans and promoters alike. Despite his brilliance, he faced open contempt during seminars, as some peers saw him as arrogant or uncooperative. Promoters became hesitant to book him for events, and he eventually left Weider Publications, the company that had once championed him. The world that had celebrated his intellect and innovation now seemed to turn its back. By 1982,
Mike's income had dropped from a comfortable $200,000 to nearly nothing. In 1983, he moved to Florida to work with Arthur Jones at Nautilus, hoping to rebuild his career and find stability. Though initially promising, the 6-month stint ended in disappointment, leaving him once again searching for purpose and security. The financial strain compounded the emotional toll of his professional frustrations, pushing him further into uncertainty. In 1984, Mike took on a new challenge as editor of Workout for Fitness magazine. He threw himself into the work with relentless intensity, sometimes working 2 to 3 days straight, fueled by amphetamines. Every article, every idea, every promotion was executed with 110% effort. Yet despite his dedication, the venture ended abruptly when the magazine was cancelled in 1985. The blow was devastating. Between career fragmentation, financial collapse, and failed ventures, these years marked the start of a slow, painful descent. For Mike Mentzer, the world that had once hailed him as a revolutionary bodybuilder and thinker now seemed indifferent, leaving him to confront loss, frustration, and the limits of resilience. What came next was so shocking that people couldn't believe this was the same man who was once a contender for Mr. Olympia. In 1985, Mike Mentzer faced a convergence of personal tragedies. His father passed away, leaving an emotional void. At the same time, his decade-long relationship with Kathy Gelfo ended, and financial stability had all but vanished. The combined weight of these losses created a perfect storm, plunging Mike into a period of deep despair and emotional devastation. The next 5 years became a downward spiral. Mike experienced suicidal thoughts and was regularly institutionalized. Despite therapy and medications, nothing seemed to help. Rumors circulated in the bodybuilding community about his erratic behavior, but few understood the depth of his struggle. Accounts of Mike's actions were unsettling. He was seen running naked through the streets, proclaiming the end of the world and waiting for alien visitors. Police were called multiple times, and at Gold's Gym, he was reportedly found in gutters in a drunk state. Friends and fellow athletes watched in disbelief as the man once known for his intellect and control descended into chaos. Those close to him were shocked and saddened. Training partners recalled the intellectual giant reduced to erratic and unpredictable behavior, chain-smoking among clients, and shouting. The contrast between the man he had once been, a focused, brilliant bodybuilder, and the shell of his former self was heartbreaking. This period marked the darkest chapter of Mike Mentzer's life. The combination of grief, loss, and mental illness created a perfect storm that stripped him of stability, dignity, and control. Yet, even amid this turmoil, hints of resilience remained, foreshadowing the slow, painful journey toward redemption that would begin in the 1990s. Just when Mike seemed to be getting his life back, fate had one final, devastating blow waiting. In this later chapter, Mike rebuilt his identity not on stage, but as a mentor and thinker. Through his writings, seminars, and the success of athletes like Dorian Yates, who embraced his heavy-duty principles, he earned a new kind of respect, proof that his greatest legacy would be intellectual rather than competitive. In 1999, Mike Mentzer received shocking news. He had antithrombin deficiency, a genetic clotting disorder. Suddenly, the shadow of inherited health problems loomed large. For a man who had spent decades pushing his body to perfection, the diagnosis was a grim reminder that genetics could not be outsmarted. The discovery also cast concern over his family, particularly his younger brother Ray, highlighting the fragility and unpredictability of life, even for the strongest among them. Mike's final professional act was filming the HIT Exercise DVD, sharing the philosophy that had defined his career. He died quietly in his sleep on June 9, 2001, at the age of 49, in Rolling Hills, California. After decades of highs, lows, and relentless striving, Mike Mentzer's life came to an unexpectedly quiet end, a calm contrast to the turbulence that had defined much of his journey. The grief was immediate and devastating, Ray missed a dialysis session following Mike's death and was found dead 2 days later. Though the cause was kidney failure or related complications, some speculated that grief, emotional shock, or even painkiller use contributed. The deaths within 48 hours of each other became a tragic testament to the deep bond between the Mentzer brothers.
However, in the midst of this tragedy, Mike Mentzer's heavy-duty training system endures. Modern athletes, including Nick Walker, continue to follow his principles. His books, tapes, and routines remain as lasting examples of the methods he brought to bodybuilding. The alternative timeline of the 1980 Olympia lingers as a painful what if. His career was cut short at his prime, his brilliance often overshadowed by politics and controversy. He fought to reconcile perceived injustices but never fully could. Mike's life highlights the pressures of elite competition, the long-term effects of unresolved trauma, and the dangers of substance use in the pursuit of perfection. His story shows the human cost behind image-driven sports. Above all, Mike's story is intertwined with Ray's. Shared genetics, shared struggles, and loyalty defined their relationship. Their deaths within 2 days of each other marked the final, tragic chapter of a bond that went beyond bodybuilding, leaving behind both brilliance and heartbreak.